Let's wrap it up by answering these final questions. Which measure of center do you think best describes your data and why? So I have two different things that you could possibly have. I think the median, I told you already, is something that you can really never be wrong with. So the median best describes my data. It is in the middle of all the numbers of the data set, and that's what median is. By definition, it means the middle number. So if you said median and you gave me a good explanation, then your answer is correct. You also could say mean here. So the mean best describes the data. It gives a better representation of the variety of values found in our data set. So if you remember, our mean was 2.9, which is not too far off from 3. If I was going to put it in my data set, it would sit right about here, right next to that 3, in between this 2 and this 3. Because there's not a huge difference between the mean and the median, both would be acceptable here. The only time we say mean is a bad choice for a measure of center is when you have an outlier. And we clearly do not have an outlier. Everything is clustered between 1 and 4. Mode would not be acceptable here because mode only represents 7 kids in this class, and we had 15 people fill out the survey. So it doesn't even represent half of the kids in the class. So definitely don't choose mode, but either of these would be acceptable, and you don't need word for word what I have, just some sort of similar explanation. The next question was talking about the measures of variability. Is the IQR or the range a better way to describe your data? We're talking about how the data varies. Is the data spread out or not? So for this one, you really can only choose range. The range best describes my data because the data is clustered between 1 and 4. If you remember the other lesson that we did last week, when the range and the IQR, those numbers that you got for them, when they are very close to each other, range is the good measure of variability to choose here. The only time we're going to want to choose IQR is when we have an outlier, or if we have a really low number and a really high number. If we had really long whiskers on our box and whisker plot. Remember, our box and whisker plot only had one whisker and it wasn't necessarily that long. So the range is your good choice here because our data is clustered together between 1 and 4. So everyone needs to have range and something similar to explain it. And what is the answer to your statistical question you wrote originally? Well, I don't know what question you wrote, so what you write here depends on what you originally had in the beginning problem. My statistical question that I had was, what was the average number of pets that we have in the class, or what was the mean number of pets we have in the class? So to answer my personal question, the mean number of pets in the blue class is 2.9. That's my question. So I wouldn't copy my answer here because my question was, what was the mean number of pets? I don't know what your question was. So make sure you answer your original question that you did all the way back, the first thing you did. Make sure you answer in a complete sentence.